I am Dad Pool, please don't hear, listen. Let's try to understand the general equilibrium theory and hopefully, you will enjoy the today's lesson. But just before, like and subscribe my channel, it's totally free and not hits your money balances. And also hit the bell icon for more videos. What is general equilibrium theory? General equilibrium theory, or Walrasian general equilibrium, attempts to explain the functioning of the macroeconomy as a whole, rather than as collections of individual market phenomena. The theory was first developed by the French economist Léon Walras in the late 19th century. It stands in contrast with partial equilibrium theory, or Marshallian partial equilibrium, which only analyses specific markets or sectors. Key point of general equilibrium are as following. General equilibrium analyses the economy as a whole, rather than analyzing single markets like with partial equilibrium analysis. General equilibrium shows how supply and demand interact and tend toward a balance in an economy of multiple markets working at once. The balance of competing levels of supply and demand in different markets ultimately creates a price equilibrium. French economist Léon Walras introduced and developed the theory in the late 19th century. Walras developed the general equilibrium theory to solve a much-debated problem in economics. Up to that point, most economic analyses only demonstrated partial equilibrium, that is, the price at which supply equals demand and markets clear, in individual markets. It was not yet shown that equilibrium could exist for all markets at the same time in aggregate. General equilibrium theory tried to show how and why all free markets tend toward equilibrium in the long run. The important fact was that markets didn't necessarily reach equilibrium, only that they tended toward it. As Walras wrote in 1889, the market is like a lake agitated by the wind, where the water is incessantly seeking its level without ever reaching it. General equilibrium theory builds on the coordinating processes of a free market price system, first widely popularized by Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, 1776. This system says traders, in a bidding process with other traders, create transactions by buying and selling goods. Those transaction prices act as signals to other producers and consumers to realign their resources and activities along more profitable lines. Walras, a talented mathematician, believed he proved that any individual market was necessarily in equilibrium if all other markets were also in equilibrium. This became known as Walras's law. The general equilibrium theory considers the economy as a network of interdependent markets and seeks to prove that all free markets eventually move toward general equilibrium. Why general equilibrium theory? As Léon Walras wrote in 1889, the market is like a lake agitated by the wind, where the water is incessantly seeking its level without ever reaching it. General equilibrium theory builds on the coordinating processes of a free market price system, first widely popularized by Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, 1776. This system says traders, in a bidding process with other traders, create transactions by buying and selling goods. Those transaction prices act as signals to other producers and consumers to realign their resources and activities along more profitable lines. Special considerations. There are many assumptions, realistic and unrealistic, inside the general equilibrium framework. Each economy has a finite number of goods in a finite number of agents. Each agent has a continuous and strictly concave utility function, along with possession of a single pre-existing good, the production good. To increase his utility, each agent must trade his production good for other goods to be consumed. There is a specified and limited set of market prices for the goods in this theoretical economy. Each agent relies on these prices to maximize his utility, thereby creating supply and demand for various goods. Like most equilibrium models, markets lack uncertainty, imperfect knowledge, or innovation. Alternatives to general equilibrium theory. Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises developed an alternative to long-run general equilibrium with his so-called evenly rotating economy, ERE. This was another imaginary construct and shared some simplifying assumptions with general equilibrium economics: no uncertainty, no monetary institutions, and no disrupting changes in resources or technology. The ERE illustrates the necessity of entrepreneurship by showing a system where none existed. Another Austrian economist, Ludwig Lachmann, argued the economy is an ongoing, non-stable process replete with subjective knowledge and subjective expectations. He argued that equilibrium could never be mathematically proven in a general or non-partial market. Those influenced by Lachmann imagine the economy as an open-ended evolutionary process of spontaneous order. The Walrasian System. Let's start from the Walras's law. Walras's law is an economic theory, which states that the existence of excess supply in one market must be matched by excess demand in another market so that both factors are balanced out. Walras's law asserts that an examined market must be in equilibrium if all other markets are in equilibrium. Keynesian economics, by contrast, assumes that one market can be out of balance without a matching imbalance elsewhere. The main points of the Walras's law are as following. Walras's law implies that, for any excess demand over supply for a single good, a corresponding excess supply over demand exists for at least one other good, which is the state of market equilibrium. Walras's law is based on equilibrium theory, which states that all markets must be cleared of any excess supply and demand to be in equilibrium. Keynesian economic theory stands in contrast to Walras's law, by stating one market can be in imbalance without another market being out of balance. Walras's law works on the principle of the invisible hand. Where there is excess demand, the invisible hand will raise prices, and where there is excess supply, the invisible hand will decrease prices, until equilibrium is reached. Critics claim that it is difficult to quantify utility, which influences demand, making Walras's law difficult to formulate as a mathematical equation. Understanding the Walras's law. Invisible hand work to settle markets' equilibrium. When there is excess demand, the invisible hand will raise prices for consumers. And if there is excess supply, the hand will lower prices for consumers. On the other hand, producers, for their part, will respond rationally to changes in interest rates. If interest rates rise, they will reduce production, and if interest rates fell, they will invest more in manufacturing facilities. Walras predicated all of these theoretical dynamics upon the assumptions that consumers pursue self-interests and that firms try to maximize profits. Limitations of the Walras's law. In practice, observations have not matched Walras's theory in many cases. Even if all other markets were in equilibrium, an excess of supply or demand in an observed market meant that it was not in equilibrium. Walras's law looks at markets as a whole rather than individually. Economists who studied and built on Walras's law hypothesized that the challenge of quantifying units of so-called utility, a subjective concept, made it difficult to formulate the law in mathematical equations, which Walras sought to do. Measuring utility for each individual, not to mention aggregating across a population to form a utility function, was not a practical exercise, critics of Walras's law argued. According to them, if this could not be done, the law would not hold, because utility influences demand.